Hey folks, Dave back with you for our Performance Parts Expo, looking at new products for 2022 as well as some cool builds. Today we have from Cool Hand Customs, Amy and EJ Fitzgerald. And guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about your project because I know that this is one that's been in the works for a bit. I know we've talked over the past year. Just tell us a little bit about the project, give us an overview, and then kind of how it got started and what the timelines look like on it.
All right, well, it's a 67 or it's a 67 front end on it actually, but it's a 74 Plymouth Duster. And we've been working on it for a little while now. I actually found it in Texas and drug it up kind of right about the time the world kind of slowed down and fell apart there for a minute. So we weren't quite sure we were actually even going to get the car to Wisconsin to get started on it. But she's here now, and we had some pretty good plans to work on upgrading it and getting a better motor, transmission, make it more reliable, better stopping, better handling vehicle than Plymouth could have ever done in the 70s. So
make it look a little cooler.
Exactly.
So you guys are Mopar fans, or is you across all brands, or what made you decide to go after the Duster, or is it just what you happened to find, or what was the game?
We're just old car fans, really. Anything from the 50s into the mid to late 70s. Been kind of getting more into the muscle car stuff lately because we did a lot of trucks over the years, and just really kind of wanted to get into something a little more muscly.
Okay. So let's go back to the start and tell us kind of how the project came together. Some of the challenges that you guys came across between, the condition of it, the bodywork. What was the most challenging part for you?
The car was in unbelievably good shape when we got it because we got it from Texas. We're used to dealing with a lot of stuff from Wisconsin that has a considerable amount of rust. And this car was amazing. I will get another car from Texas again. When we took it apart, I think we were probably the first people to ever strip it down. And when we took all the nuts and bolts and everything apart, we didn't even strip off one or break one nut or bolt. It was, we didn't even have to heat anything up, no. I don't think. So it was getting it here to begin with. That was our first challenge to start off. It kind of made us worried that I hope she wasn't going to fight us the whole way. Other than that, I don't know if they were necessarily challenges. They were hurdles that we crossed. One of the big ones was that we took this perfect condition car. The floor was gorgeous, and we did the sacrilegious thing and cut the floor out to modify for a different tunnel that we took out of a Chrysler 300 because we wanted the transmission. So that was a challenge of things of just engineering to get it done. It wasn't necessarily a bad one. It was just a hurdle that we crossed. So yeah, the other thing I think was a lot of the aftermarket components, combining them with the older 1974 technology, as well as the 2007 technology from the Chrysler. So combining all of those pieces and parts and figuring out how to make them all work together was it was fun. Engineering feat.
Yeah. So what made you guys decide to go the modern route for the engine? And talk a little bit more about some of those challenges that sort of came about from making that decision.
Well, it's kind of where the market and everything is going right now. A lot of people really love these old cars, but they forget that when they drove this 74 Duster or their 70 Chevelle in high school, that it didn't handle as well as they thought it did. And now they've been driving new cars, and then they want us to restore an old Chevelle and kind of get their memories of high school and everything back. And they don't realize till it's done that, I kind of got used to having brakes,
suspension,
not having to tune my carburetor and not having to wait for the car to warm up and that kind of stuff. So I think just because the market's going that way, we're huge old school carburetor distributor, even points people. So this is kind of a big jump for us. But
that's a challenge. That has been a challenge. That's our big learning curve challenges that we are moving into EFI.
And I'm computer challenged to begin with. Just writing an email is like almost painful sometimes. So
it's painful to watch. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the entire thing's just imagine, at least from the powertrain standpoint, a learning curve for you guys, but like you said, there's a lot to learn along the way.
Also,
Bodywork
with the big
wise,
thing was with that transmission, being able to use our Gen 3 Hemi and the Nag 1 and it being able to use that standalone in the car, that was quite interesting. We found an awesome guy that helped us out with being able to pin out the connectors and the TCM so that we could have this whole standalone package and really put the Chrysler 300 and SRT8 package into a Duster and have it be as if they were to create that 74 Duster today. This is what our vision is of what the manufacturers should have come out with.
There are a few pioneers out there that have put the Gen 3 Hemis in a lot of these, mainly e-body cars. So the A-body is kind of a new thing, putting them in there and fitment. There's a lot of aftermarket parts for it, but there is no standalone TCU for a Nag 1 transmission. Nobody makes one. So being able to run all the original equipment that Mopar designed to have in a car and the reliability, I think, is huge. I didn't see any reason to stick old 727 old transmission technology into something that we've jumped everything else so far, into the present with.
Yeah, they had already done all the engineering, all the work for us. So we wanted to be able to just use what they had already figured out.
yeah. Well, you kind of mentioned earlier, you're thinking back to when you had your old Chevelle or whatever, people think back to the glory days and, maybe some aspects of it aren't as glorious as I remember. The ride's a little harsher, like you said. So upgrading to the modern makes a lot of sense. But speaking of that and the handling, tell us a little bit about the suspension components and what you did there.
Well, we actually called Bill Foley over at QA1. He's a good friend of mine. We worked together for probably 10 years, countless products. And we used the QA1 Stage 3 A-body handling kit on the car. So we pretty much stripped everything off of the bottom. There was nothing left but the unibody and the floor. And all of their Stage 3 kit is all bolt-on. So we were able to remove the leaf springs, remove the rear end, bolt their 6-link kit in the rear, both the shocks and tubular K-member and control arms, all that up front. And the cool thing about their kit is it still retains the torsion bar suspension.
Okay.
So it still keeps it Mopar,
Right. So I want to ask about the paint as well, but before I do that, what kind of condition was the body in and how much work did that require? And I also want to touch on some of the stuff you got on the front end there. I know you did some different things there. So how about that body work? What was that like and what condition was it in?
Well, like Amy was saying early on, when we got it from Texas, it was in very good shape compared to what we were used to. We ended up calling someone up and getting a new front passenger quarter for it. And it wasn't because of rust. Somebody had hit it. This was a grocery getter daily driver for a long time.
Yeah.
So most of the car had little dents and dings in it, but replacing that quarter, the front
Trunk
fender,
pan.
and the trunk pan was pretty much all the fab work that we had to do, which allowed us to do some of the fun stuff up here, like put the 67 Valiant front grille and front end on it and change the tail lights up a little bit.
Or the tail panel, 73 Dart panel.
Right.
Yeah.
And most of the
72. 72.
it was a daily driver. So, and there's a lot of body lines on this car. When you look at it at first, you really don't think there is, but we pretty much had to break every panel on the car down into 3-4 different segments to do the blocking and sanding and everything on it. So
we had this whole conversation about how awesome it was going to be because it was broken out for us. Cause there's all these, the flat panels on the side. And I remember having this conversation and then thinking back later, like, God, what a stupid thought that was, that it was going to make it so much easier because it was already sectioned. And no, there's a lot of straight lines on this car.
We've done a lot of 40s and 50s cars. So you get those large curves that
Very
you have
bubbly.
to keep straight and not, choppy looking. So yeah, I really thought having all the flat areas was going to make it go really fast.
No.
That's probably what took the longest on it. Wasn't really taking care of damage done to the car. It was just getting it, locked out and smooth and ready.
Yeah, well, that's the key, I think, in any paint job is that prep work that you do. So, but it looks beautiful. What's the paint you used on it?
It's KBS Coatings, and it's their Orange Crush, and it is a single stage, so it already has the clear in it. So it's not a base
UV.
clear. All the UV protectant's already there. It sprayed out awesome. It is some of the hardest paint that we have ever sprayed, and we let it sit for a good while. It had a good
longer than usual.
Longer than usual since we had an extra year, but about 4 weeks that it sat before we started cutting and buffing, and it was so hard. It's the longest wet sanding process we've ever gone through, which is, in hindsight, it came out with an absolutely beautiful product because I think it will be that indestructible when we're driving down the road too.
Perfect. Yeah, you got to have that. So,
and the satin black is also KBS. It's their satin hot rod black. Actually, every single liquid coating that could be put on this vehicle is all KBS.
Yeah, from the undercoating to the primers to the filler, everything we use straight from them. And I was extremely happy. We kind of went with a mix of a few different 340 paint designs from the 70s. And basically we had to change it up a bunch using that 67 Valiant. If you look at a lot of old Dusters or Darts, they've got the snorkel hoods up front and just the blacked out hood. So we kind of wanted to make it flow and come around and keep that kind of waterfall look in the front, being that we got the split grill on it now. So
yeah, it really looks fantastic. I mean, you say you're marrying the old to the new. I think there's a lot of perfect touches there with that. How about interior wise? What did you guys do in there? Who'd you go with? What products?
We used TMI for our front bucket seats, which they look awesome. That was my biggest grievance because it originally had the split front bench, which is just absolutely cool. But because we did that transmission upgrade, we had to get rid of our bench. And then the rear seat is a TMI cover. We recovered it here, and it's all like a dark charcoal gray, black gray with orange stitching to go with the outside, and ACC for our carpet.
Yeah, a lot of Thermatec.
Yeah, all of our sound deadening and all of that is all Thermatec.
I had a lot of help from the guys on our A-body forum because there's a lot of parts on this car that aren't reproduced. And being that it was from Texas, a lot of that plastic, you just touched it and it crumbled into dust.
Yeah, it was all there, but yeah, it turned into chalk.
So yeah, we were able to find every single piece we needed from some of them from Canada, all over the place.
In weird different places. Yeah, we had to find our A-pillars and our kick panels and door panels and from very odd different places around the United States. But it was the same thing with, we got the hood and the grill from one guy and the center panel in the back from a different guy. I think that was one of the blessings of having the extra year, because we were able to really look for all of these parts that we can't get, made or aftermarket, that we were lucky to find them. But
it's a very good mix on the inside between new and old. It still has the door cranks and it doesn't have, electric anything on the inside really until you turn it on and the Holly screen pops up and everything, all the digital stuff lights up.
It's like being in a spaceship.
It's awesome. Yeah. You guys said it with the the community out there. That's another advantage of now versus then, is you can hop on the internet, go into forums, go into groups.
Yeah.
You're able to track some of these things down, and it's awesome that
well, just the difference between when we started this car and to what's available for this setup now is amazing.
Is that right?
So far, the engineering has come in just the last
18 months. I mean, it's leaps and bounds in 18 months.
Yeah, there were parts that when we were designing and researching to start the car, you couldn't get, that now are parts that are available that
we can find on Summit.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, so how much did your final sort of version of where you landed now change from where you thought it was going to be maybe a year ago or so, just because of what you said, different parts being out there?
Actually, the overall look and performance and feel that we were going for is almost dead on. I mean, if you look at our original rendering compared to what we have now, a couple of lines maybe moved here or there for the paint design and that, and the rims changed, but mostly the parts that I was talking about that are more available now, we would have just had to make. So it didn't really change our overall vision or performance, but it did make life a hell of a lot easier.
Just how you got there and how you arrived there was a little different. So I haven't touched on the wheels and tires yet. What can you tell us about what you went with there?
They're actually smoothies from Wheel Antiques, which is something you would normally see on probably a low rider or something from the 50s and 60s. So I got a lot of strange looks at first when I said what we were going to use. And they don't, and because they're, you know, for those older vehicles, they only make center caps for like an original F100 or an old Chevy or whatever. And we wanted to get that old rally,
Mopar,
you know, poverty dish almost look rally that it would have come with. So once we painted them black, I actually found some center caps that are original, like Satellite GTX, and even some of the old Dusters had just the rally centers, and got lucky. They bolted right in. And
yeah, it's plain Jane, but it's super sharp. It really adds to the look.
And we can still have 11 inches of rubber on the back, and that you couldn't have put on this car, you know, with those rims before.
Yeah, we're running 17.7s in the front and 17.10s in the rear.
Yeah.
So what's aside from the overall look, is there a favorite part of the car that you guys have, or is it just too hard? It's, you know, it's the overall.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell now that we've got her up and running. I'd have to say that the Hemi growl that these newer Hemis puts out is probably close to one of my favorite parts right now. It's a really comfortable car. Like you sit in it and, you know, you feel like you're in something solid, and it's just the feel when you're sitting in it, everything just lays out. You just feel right. So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. My favorite parts, after we painted it and it was orange, it was really orange. I mean, it was a lot of orange, and orange is a very bold color to begin with.
I love orange.
So once we put the black on the satin and then we got the stripes on there, I really like our final visual image that we came up with. I think that's my favorite thing, especially stripe day. When we did the stripes, that was good day, because it just really looked like, oh, there's the car I was looking for.
Well, and it's really easy for people to think 74, 75 Duster, wasn't that Al Bundy's car? You know? So
That's right.
you could really easily have screwed the paint stripes or the lines or the rake or something up, and it's not a muscle car anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that was the big thing with changing the hood too, is because that hood that was on the Duster was real grandma-like. I mean, it was just kind of a grandma go around town, go to the grocery store family car. And it, you know, had that beak to it. And so it was just, it was bad.
Yeah, they had the 5 mile an hour push bumpers on the front and back.
I was going to try to be nicer, but it was bad. So I think that too, just the upgrade and how easy that was, because all of those years of cars and that, you know, generation there, 5-6 years, it's like playing with Legos almost. You know, we took the one hood off, and the 67 Valiant hood without any, I mean, we had to do, of course, some minor adjustments to get the gapping, but it just kind of went right down, and it was, I mean, minor adjustments for gapping. So yeah, I really like the body style. That's definitely my favorite part.
Yeah, and it's all metal.
Yeah.
In 74, this whole front grille was this dried out piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Chipped and.
Yep. No, it turned out beautifully. Yeah, we're proud to be a part of it. And who else? Any other shout outs on the card? Help along the way? And
yeah, we absolutely could not do it without just the massive amount of help of, I mean, knowledge and sponsorship and help with parts and tech support. And we work with Summit, clearly. Painless Performance is that we work with them for our wiring. Obviously, KBS on this one for the paint. We worked with Holly for the whole EFI.
Yeah, they were very helpful to
get the tech guys are helpful, because like we said before, we're real new to the CFI stuff. And I mean, plugging a laptop into a car to me right now is just wrong. But I'm figuring it out and we're getting it. So if we didn't have these guys to, get the knowledge from, we wouldn't be able to go further.
Exactly. Yeah, QA1 having helped us out with all the suspension parts, and
Russ Drake at Sound German Automotive, he's the one that did with the NAG1 pinout for us.
yeah, he's that genius guy. And I'm sure people will start seeing those standalone setups probably coming out pretty soon.
Thermatech for our sound deadening.
Yeah,
Steel rubber.
wheels.
Oh yeah, Grant steering wheels, steel rubber. Every piece of rubber sealing, anything is all steel rubber.
Oh yeah, I love Danny and them
Yeah.
guys over there. They're like family. So
Yeah, our PUI for our brakes, E3 spark plugs.
Yep, and then our guys in our local Schmidt's local wrecking yard over here for helping us find all of the parts to put this thing together to get started.
Our favorite junkyard.
Well, again, it looks fantastic. Congratulations on it. And Amy and EJ, Cool Hand Customs, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for kind of giving us a little bit of a tour here, and look forward to hopefully working with you guys down the road.
Yeah,
Thank you so
anytime.
much.
We appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate you talking with us about it.
Absolutely.